The unexpected encounter, the sun, was setting on the barren planet of Valor, casting long shadows over the dusty ground. Miles away from the nearest settlement, a lone human named Marcus roamed the empty fields, his boots crunching over the dry earth. He was used to the quiet, the isolation. On this frontier planet, there was no one to talk to, no distractions. Just the work and the silence. But today was different. As Marcus walked along the rocky path, something caught his eye. It was a soft glimmer, almost like a sparkle, hidden beneath the thick underbrush. Curiosity led him closer, brushing aside the tall weeds and thick vines. What he saw took him by surprise. A small alien girl lay motionless on the ground. Her skin was pale, almost translucent, with shimmering markings that ran like veins across her arms and face. She looked fragile, smaller than any human child he had ever seen. But there was something about her, something that made Marcus stop in his tracks. Despite the dirt and grime on her face, she was beautiful in a way he couldn't explain. He knelt beside her, his heart racing. Was she alive? Gently, Marcus placed his hand on her shoulder, and to his relief, she gasped for air, her chest rising. With a sudden breath, her bright, golden eyes flickered open. She blinked up at him, disoriented and weak. "Are you okay?" Marcus asked, his voice soft but filled with concern. The girl's eyes locked with his, and for a moment she seemed to study him. Her mouth moved as if she wanted to speak, but no words came out. Instead, she reached for his hand with trembling fingers, squeezing it as if she knew he was her only hope. Marcus helped her sit up, unsure of what to do next. His thoughts raced, but there was one thing he was certain of: this girl needed help. He had no idea where she came from, or how she ended up in such a sorry state, but the look in her eyes told him everything. She had been through something horrible, something that had left her broken. And yet, there was a spark of something else, a power, a strength, hidden beneath her fragile appearance. "Don't worry," Marcus said, trying to comfort her. "I'll help you." The alien girl looked at him, still silent, but there was a quiet understanding in her gaze. She wasn't afraid. It was as if she knew he would be the one to save her. Marcus glanced around. The world around them was empty, silent, and isolated. There was no one else here. It was just him and her. And though he didn't know it yet, this small, fragile girl would change everything. Her eyes glistened, and for a brief second, Marcus thought he saw a faint glow around her body, like the stars themselves had come to life. It was only a flash, but it was enough to make him shiver. Was she more than just a lost girl? The girl slowly rose to her feet, using Marcus's arm for support. She looked up at him, her face filled with gratitude, and then, with barely a whisper, she spoke. "I will repay you," she said, her voice soft but strong. Marcus was taken aback. Repay him? What did that even mean? How could this tiny alien girl repay him for saving her life? But before he could ask, she collapsed against him. Her energy drained once more. He caught her just in time, and as he gently lifted her into his arms, a sense of awe washed over him. This wasn't just any girl. There was something extraordinary about her, something otherworldly. He couldn't put his finger on it, but he could feel it in his bones. Without a second thought, Marcus started the long walk back to his small shelter. The girl was light in his arms, almost weightless, but her presence was anything but insignificant. As he moved through the darkening landscape, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something far bigger than anything he could have imagined. The sun dipped below the horizon, and the stars began to shine in the high night sky. The planet's quiet emptiness stretched out before them, but within Marcus's heart, he felt the stirrings of something he had never experienced before: hope, excitement, and a sense of purpose. This little alien girl had just entered his life, and for reasons he couldn't understand, he knew his world would never be the same again. Asterisk the bond that formed. The next morning, Marcus awoke to a soft noise coming from the corner of his small shelter. He blinked, still groggy from the long night. His heart skipped a beat when he saw the alien girl sitting by the window, her golden eyes staring out at the barren landscape. She looked different. There was something about her now, a strange energy in the air that he couldn't quite explain. She wasn't weak anymore. She was sitting tall, her posture regal, like she belonged to a world far beyond this planet. Marcus stretched and approached her carefully. "How are you feeling?" he asked, keeping his voice gentle. The girl turned, her head slowly, locking eyes with him. For a moment, she just studied him, as if weighing his very soul. She had no need for words. Her gaze was enough to tell him that she was far more than just the fragile creature he had found the day before. I feel better," she said, her voice still soft, but stronger now. "Thank you ... for saving me." Marcus felt a strange warmth spread through him at her words. He'd never thought of himself as a hero. He was just a man trying to survive in a world that seemed to care little for him. But looking at the girl, he realized that, somehow, he had become part of something much bigger than himself. As the days passed, Marcus did his best to care for her. He taught her how to speak his language, but she learned quickly, her intelligence and understanding far surpassing anything he had expected. She wasn't just learning his words, she was absorbing everything around her with an uncanny ability. It was as though she could sense the world in a way he couldn't. They spent hours talking, though their conversations were often interrupted by her strange abilities. One morning, as Marcus worked on repairing the shelter's weathered door, a sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut with a force that nearly knocked Marcus off his feet. The girl was standing nearby, her hands raised, her eyes glowing softly. "Did you do that?" Marcus asked, awestruck. She nodded silently, a faint smile on her lips. "I didn't mean to. It just ... happens." Marcus was stunned. The force of the wind had been unnatural, like something out of a dream. This little girl, who only days ago had been on the verge of death, now seemed to have powers beyond comprehension. "Can you control it?" Marcus asked cautiously, unsure of what to expect. She hesitated, then dropped her hands slowly. The wind stopped instantly. "I don't know, but I feel something inside me ... like it's been asleep for so long." Her words sent a chill down Marcus's spine. What was she? And how could a small alien girl possess such raw power? Over the next few days, Marcus noticed more strange things happening. She could move small objects with nothing but a thought, and sometimes, when she spoke, the air seemed to hum with energy. Yet, for all her power, the girl remained humble, even shy, as if she were still unsure of her place in the world. One evening, as the two of them sat by a fire, the girl finally spoke of her past. Her voice trembled slightly, but there was a strength to her words that made Marcus listen intently. "I was born on a planet far from here," she began. "My people were once rulers of the stars, feared and respected by all. But then, something went wrong ... We were betrayed. My family, my world, destroyed. I was taken, imprisoned, and cast away." She paused, looking at Marcus with a mixture of sadness and determination. "They left me to die, but I'm not dead. Not yet." Marcus could feel the weight of her words, the pain she carried with her. It was a pain that resonated deep within him. He had always known loneliness, but this girl had known loss on a scale he could never imagine. "I won't let them control me anymore," she continued, her voice firming. "I will reclaim what was stolen. I will be a queen again. And I will make them pay." The fire crackled between them, the flames casting a soft glow on her determined face. Marcus looked at her, his heart heavy with the truth she had shared. The girl was no longer just someone he had saved. She was a survivor, a warrior, with a destiny that could change the very fabric of the galaxy. "I'll help you," Marcus said without hesitation. "Whatever it takes. You're not alone anymore." The girl's eyes softened, the golden light flickering in them like the stars above. For the first time since they had met, she allowed herself to smile fully, a smile that held not only gratitude but a promise. "Thank you, Marcus," she whispered. "You have no idea how much that means to me." In that moment, something deep inside Marcus stirred. He had always lived in the shadows, always hidden from the world. But now, with this alien girl by his side, he felt as if he had a purpose, a reason to fight. And as he looked at her, he knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. Asterisk. The revelation of power. It was a cold evening when the first real sign of the girl's true power emerged. The sky above the barren landscape of Valor was clear, the stars twinkling faintly in the distance, when a low rumble shook the ground. Marcus stood up quickly, his instincts telling him something was wrong. "What was that?" he asked, looking around nervously. The girl was standing by the window again, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Her expression was calm, but there was a tension in the way she held herself. Her hands, though still at her sides, seemed to glow faintly. It wasn't like the normal soft light he'd seen before. It was brighter, pulsing with an energy he could feel in the pit of his stomach. "It's them," the girl said, her voice steady but filled with a quiet urgency. "They've found you." Marcus frowned. "Who?" She turned to face him, her golden eyes now shining with an intensity that took him by surprise. "The ones who hunted me. The ones who destroyed my world." A chill ran down Marcus's spine. He had known her past was troubled, but he had no idea it went this deep. The way she spoke it was as if she had no fear left, as if her enemies were already defeated in her mind. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook again, this time stronger, sending dust falling from the ceiling of their small shelter. The girl staggered, but caught herself, her eyes narrowing as she stepped toward the door. "Stay back," she warned Marcus, her voice colder than before. "I'm not afraid of them anymore." Marcus took a step forward, his heart racing. He couldn't let her face whatever was coming alone, especially not with how much power he'd seen in her already. "No," Marcus said, shaking his head. "I'm not going to let you handle this by yourself." The girl's gaze softened for a brief moment, but there was no hesitation in her voice when she spoke. "You don't understand. I don't need saving. I need to fight." Before Marcus could protest, a blinding light filled the room, and a deafening sound cracked the air. The door was ripped off its hinges, slamming against the far wall, leaving a deep dent in the stone. A group of alien soldiers, tall, armored beings, stepped into the shelter, weapons drawn and eyes scanning the room. The girl didn't flinch. In fact, a faint smile crossed her lips, and for a moment, Marcus thought she was about to laugh. "You've come to the wrong place," she said, her voice almost like a whisper, but carrying the weight of 1,000 voices. The soldiers froze, as if caught in some unseen web. For a split second, Marcus wondered if he was imagining the scene. The girl raised one hand, and the room seemed to darken, the air thick with an unnatural energy. Her glowing eyes pulsed, brighter now, and the soldiers suddenly staggered, their armor rattling as if the very ground was shaking beneath them. With a single motion, the girl's hand flared out, and the soldiers were tossed back like ragdolls, crashing against the walls with a force that made Marcus wince. What the hell just happened? Marcus gasped, his heart pounding in his chest. The girl turned to him, her expression unreadable. "I told you," she said, almost casually. "I'm not weak anymore." The soldiers slowly rose, their faces covered in shock and disbelief. They looked at each other in confusion, unsure of what they had just witnessed. They were no longer in control, and the girl had made it clear that she was no longer their prey. One of the soldiers, a hulking figure with dark red markings on his armor, stepped forward. His voice was rough, but it held an edge of fear. You are not the same as before." The girl's eyes glowed brighter, and Marcus could feel the weight of her power in the air, heavy and unyielding. "I'm not," she replied. "I'm more." The moment she spoke, the room seemed to hum with energy. The air rippled around them, a force so palpable that Marcus almost couldn't breathe. The soldiers, still on their knees, looked up at her, their eyes filled with both awe and fear. The girl stepped toward them, her posture regal, a true queen in her own right. Her voice was calm, but laced with power. "You've come to capture me, to control me, but you don't understand. I've already taken back what you stole from me, and now I will take your old too." The ground beneath the soldiers trembled. Again, and with a single flick of the girl's wrist, their weapons flew from their hands, crashing against the walls with a deafening clang. The soldiers looked at each other in panic, realizing they were no longer in control. Marcus stood still, watching in awe as the girl's power surged like a storm. She was no longer the fragile creature he had found that night. She was something far more dangerous, something that could destroy them all. For the first time since meeting her, Marcus realized the true extent of the girl's strength. She wasn't just a survivor, she was a force of nature. And for reasons unknown, Marcus knew that his life would never be the same again. "Leave," she commanded, her voice steady. "Before I change my mind." The soldiers hesitated, but the fear in their eyes was too great. Slowly, they backed away, retreating from the shelter in a disarrayed, frightened rush. Once they were gone, the girl turned to Marcus, her golden eyes softening for a brief moment. But there was no joy in her expression, only determination. "Now they know what I can do," she said, her voice steady. "But they still don't understand. And they never will." Marcus swallowed hard, his mind racing. This was no longer just about saving a lost girl. This was about a revolution. Betrayal and escape. The quiet after the storm felt almost unnatural. The walls of the shelter, still vibrating from the force of the girl's power, seemed to hum with a strange energy. Marcus stood in stunned silence, his heart still racing from the incredible display of strength he had just witnessed. He had seen many things in his life, but nothing like this. The girl, no, she wasn't just an alien girl anymore. She was something else, something more than he could ever have imagined. But the weight of the situation didn't settle in immediately. The soldiers were gone, retreating in fear, but Marcus knew that wouldn't be the end of it. They would come back. They would send more forces. The girl wasn't just an outcast anymore. She was a threat. He turned to her, but the girl was no longer standing tall, her regal posture replaced by a look of weariness. She sat at the edge of the fire, her once bright eyes now clouded with uncertainty. The power that had surged through her moments ago seemed to have drained away, leaving her vulnerable once again. "I thought I was ready," she whispered, more to herself than to Marcus. "I thought I could do this alone." Marcus knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You're not alone," he said firmly, looking into her eyes. "We're in this together. Whatever happens next, I've got your back." For a moment, she said nothing, just staring at him. Then, slowly, she reached up and grasped his hand. "I didn't ask for any of this," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "But it's all I have now. The galaxy took everything from me, and now I have to take it back." Marcus nodded, understanding. He had seen her fight. He had seen her power. But he also saw her vulnerability. She wasn't a queen yet. She was still just a girl who had been torn from everything she knew. That's when he heard it. The sound of footsteps approaching. Slow, deliberate, and heavy. Marcus stood quickly, pulling the girl to her feet. But before he could say a word, the door burst open with a violent crash. Standing in the doorway was someone Marcus hadn't expected to see, someone who had been with them all along. Lena. She had been Marcus's closest ally on this desolate world, a fellow outcast who had made a home here years ago. But now, as she stepped into the shelter, her eyes narrowed at the girl. Her expression was cold, calculating, and something in Marcus's gut told him that something wasn't right. "What's going on here, Marcus?" Lena asked, her voice sharp with an edge he hadn't heard before. "You've been hiding this thing, this alien?" The girl's eyes flickered to Lena, but she didn't move. She was still recovering from the energy she had used, but the fear in Lena's eyes wasn't lost on her. There was a tension in the air now, thick and heavy, as if they were on the edge of something dangerous. "I was trying to protect her," Marcus said, stepping in front of the girl. "She's not what you think, Lena." Lena's eyes flickered with something: betrayal, anger, whatever it was there, hidden beneath her calm exterior. "Protect her?" Lena scoffed, taking a step closer. "You've been played, Marcus. This isn't some innocent girl you found. This is a weapon. And now she's going to get us all killed." Marcus's stomach twisted. He didn't want to believe it. But there was something in Lena's voice, something in the way she said those words that made him hesitate. "What are you talking about?" he demanded, his voice rising. "She's been nothing but kind to me. She's not a weapon." Lena took another step forward, her hand reaching inside her jacket. Marcus instinctively reached for his own weapon, but the girl was faster. Before Marcus could react, the girl raised her hand, and the next thing he knew, Lena was thrown backward, slamming into the far wall with a sickening thud. Marcus rushed to her side, but Lena was already getting up, her eyes wide with shock. "What the hell?" The girl, still standing near the fire, didn't look at Lena. Her eyes were focused on Marcus, as if she were trying to read him. "I didn't want this," she said softly. "But I can't keep running from who I am. I've been hiding for too long." Lena's face twisted in anger, but there was something else to fear. She had seen the girl's power, and now she understood what she was up against. The girl wasn't just a survivor. She was a force of nature. Asterisk. "You're a fool, Marcus," Lena spat. "She's going to destroy us all. And when she does, I hope you remember who warned you." But before Marcus could respond, the ground beneath them began to tremble again. This time, the shaking was worse, violent. The walls cracked, and the shelter groaned as if it were about to collapse. "Get out of here," the girl commanded, her voice now commanding, filled with authority. Now, Marcus didn't wait. He grabbed Lena by the arm and pulled her toward the door. The girl had already moved to the center of the room, her eyes glowing once more. She was preparing for something. But what? The shelter erupted in chaos, the ground buckling beneath their feet. And in the midst of it all, Marcus heard a voice, a whisper in his mind, coming from the girl. "It's not over. Not yet." Before he could process what was happening, the shelter began to collapse around them. The walls crumbled, the floor gave way, and Marcus pulled Lena into the storm, his heart racing. They were running for their lives. But deep down, Marcus knew something worse was coming. The girl had just awakened something inside of her, something the galaxy would never be able to stop. Asterisk. The rise of a queen. The night air outside the shelter was thick with the smell of dust and burning wood, but it was the sound of the distant explosions and crumbling earth that filled Marcus's ears. The ground beneath their feet continued to shake, and the roar of something far larger than them reverberated across the barren landscape. It was the kind of sound that only came when something truly massive was approaching. Marcus had no time. to process the sheer scale of what was happening. He pulled Lena by the arm, urging her forward through the rocky terrain. But the moment they stepped outside, the girl was already ahead of them. Her back was to them, her posture straight and firm, as though she was awaiting something or someone. Her golden eyes burned brighter than ever before, and the distant stars reflected in them like flames. "Stay back," she ordered in a voice that rang through the cold night air, stronger than any command Marcus had heard from her. She wasn't a girl anymore. She was something else. "What is this? What's happening?" Lena asked, her voice frantic. But before Marcus could answer, he felt it a pulse of raw energy that made the hairs on his neck stand on end. The ground trembled once again, but this time it wasn't just the planet reacting. It was the girl's power, resonating with something deep inside the world itself. "Stay close to me," Marcus told Lena, his own voice tense with a realization that he was powerless to stop whatever was coming. The girl didn't respond to them. She simply raised her hand, and the earth before her split open. A blinding light flooded from beneath the ground, and Marcus had to shield his eyes from the intensity of it. When he dared to look again, he saw what the girl had uncovered, a massive alien ship, buried for centuries under the planet's surface. Its sleek metallic surface glinting under the pale moonlight. The ship was hers. Marcus felt a jolt of disbelief. How was this possible? A ship of that size and power, hidden away for so long, buried deep beneath the planet they had thought was so desolate and unremarkable? The girl took a step forward, her hand still raised, as though commanding the ship to rise from the earth. She didn't look back at Marcus or Lena, but her voice reached them with an unsettling calmness. "This is mine," she said. "It's time to take back what's been stolen." The ship began to hum, a deep, resonant sound that seemed to echo throughout the entire planet. It was as though the very air vibrated with the intensity of the ship's awakening. The alien ship wasn't just technology. It was alive, its energy an extension of the girl's own dot. As the ship broke free from the earth, rising slowly into the sky, Marcus watched in awe. It was beautiful, alien, and ancient, but there was no mistaking what it represented. Power, control, and authority. The girl was no longer just an outcast on a desolate world. She was a queen, and this was her kingdom. Lena stumbled back, her eyes wide with shock. "You ... You're a queen?" The girl turned her head slightly, just enough for Marcus to see the faintest smile on her lips. "I was a queen," she said softly, "but I've been lost. I was a prisoner. I am no longer weak." A ship's engines powered up, sending a low hum across the planet. The sound was almost hypnotic, like the heartbeat of something much larger than the girl herself. And as the ship ascended, a strange energy filled the air. The girl's power seemed to merge with it, growing stronger, more commanding. She wasn't just taking back her ship. She was taking back her birthright, her power, and her destiny. Marcus could feel the shift in the air, the palpable change in the girl's presence. The fear and uncertainty from before were gone, replaced by something more dangerous confidence. And with that confidence came the chilling realization that the galaxy would never be the same. "You won't be able to stop this," the girl said, her voice laced with authority. "They will fear me again." The ship soared higher, its enormous form casting a shadow over the landscape, and Marcus watched as the girl climbed into the ship, her back straight, her head held high. She was no longer the fragile alien girl he had once found on the brink of death. She was a queen, reborn from the ashes of her past, and the universe was about to feel her wrath. Lena, still reeling from the sudden transformation, turned to Marcus. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" she whispered, her voice full of awe and fear. Marcus didn't answer right away. He simply watched as the girl's ship disappeared into the stars, leaving behind the planet that had been her prison. He could feel it now, the sense of inevitability in the air. The girl had come for more than just survival. She had come to reclaim everything that was hers. And Marcus, whether he wanted to or not, was part of that journey. "I don't know," Marcus said, his voice steady but filled with wonder. "But we're in it now, and there's no turning back." As the night fell silent, the last echoes of the girl's ship faded into the cosmos, and Marcus couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at what they had just witnessed. The girl he had saved was no longer a helpless alien. She was the catalyst for a new era, an era where humanity would have to face the power of a queen reborn. *A. New beginning. The stars glimmered above them, a cold, distant reminder of how small they truly were in the grand expanse of the universe. Marcus stood at the edge of the broken shelter, gazing up at the fading trail of light that marked the path of the girl's ship. She was gone now, but the weight of her presence still hung heavily in the air. The galaxy, once a vast and unknowable place, now felt like something Marcus had a small part in shaping. He had known nothing about what he was stepping into when he had found her, and now he had no idea where it would all lead. Behind him, Lena was silent. Her earlier shock had morphed into a quiet fear that gnawed at her, but there was something else there too. A spark of curiosity, perhaps, or maybe even awe. She had been one of the first to warn Marcus about the alien girl, but now she wasn't so sure what to think. "I don't understand," Lena finally said, her voice quiet, but the tension in it was clear. You just watched her leave. After everything she showed us, after everything she's capable of." Marcus didn't turn around. He couldn't. The enormity of what had just happened was still sinking in. The girl had risen from nothing, from being a prisoner, and she had reclaimed everything she had lost. Her powers were beyond anything Marcus had ever encountered. She wasn't just a queen now. She was something more, a force of nature. The universe would never be the same. "She's not the same anymore," Marcus said, his voice low. "She's not the fragile alien I found. She's a queen, and she's going to need help. This isn't just about her now." Lena crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing as she took a step closer. "But what do we do? Just follow her? You really think we can just keep up with whatever she's going to do next?" Marcus didn't have an answer. He had no idea what the next step was. Everything had changed so suddenly, so overwhelmingly, that it felt like his mind couldn't quite catch up. But there was something else, something deeper that he couldn't ignore. The girl's power wasn't just about control. It was about something greater, something that Marcus had only begun to understand. "She's not doing this for herself," Marcus said quietly. "She's doing this for the people who were taken from her, her people. This isn't just her fight. It's ours too." Lena hesitated, her gaze flicking to the sky as if trying to make sense of it all. "I still don't know what to think, Marcus. But one thing's for sure. She's not waiting for anyone to catch up. We're already too far behind." Marcus nodded slowly. He had known that deep down. The girl wasn't waiting for anyone. She was going to do what she had to, and if they wanted to survive, they would have to catch up. "We need to find her," Marcus said, a sense of resolve creeping into his voice. "We need to be there when she takes the next step." As he spoke, the ground beneath them trembled once again, but this time it wasn't the same. The vibrations were different, calmer, almost rhythmic. They were no longer a sign of destruction, but a sign of something building, something growing. A low hum filled the air, a sound that was strangely comforting in its familiarity. And then, through the darkness, a familiar shape appeared. The girl's ship was back. But this time, it wasn't rising from the ground. It was hovering in place, just above the ruins of the shelter, its massive form casting a long shadow over the land. The engines hummed with power, but it wasn't a threatening hum. It felt inviting. Marcus felt his heart beat faster as he turned toward Lena. She's come back for us. The ship descended slowly, its landing graceful and controlled. As the ship's landing gear touched the ground, the ramp lowered with a soft hiss, and from the darkened interior, the girl stepped out, her silhouette framed by the soft glow of the ship's lights. She was different now. Her posture was no longer hesitant or unsure. She had become the embodiment of something powerful, something undeniable. Her gaze locked onto Marcus, and for the first time, he saw the true queen within her. "You're not alone," she said, her voice steady. "Not anymore. The galaxy is vast, but I will bring it to its knees, and I will need those who can stand beside me." Marcus could feel the weight of her words, the unspoken promise that this wasn't just about her. This was about the rise of something bigger, something that would change everything. She had found her purpose, and now she was inviting them too. Share it. Lena looked from Marcus to the girl, her expression conflicted. But there was no denying it. There was a force in the air now, something that would carry them forward, something that could not be ignored. Marcus stepped forward, his voice filled with a quiet resolve. "We're with you." The girl's eyes softened, just a little, as if this was the first time someone had truly understood her. "Then let's begin," she said, her voice calm but filled with authority. And just like that, the girl, the queen, turned, walking up the ramp of her ship. Marcus and Lina followed, the weight of their decision heavy on their shoulders, but the feeling of something greater settling in their hearts. This wasn't just about a fight. This wasn't just about reclaiming what was lost. This was about the beginning of a new era. And no matter what happened next, they would be part of it. As the ship's ramp closed behind them, and the hum of the engines filled the space around them, Marcus realized that the girl's rise to power wasn't the end of their story. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous, far more exciting than anything they had ever imagined. And together, they were about to change the course of the galaxy. Asterisk.